I've been a private investigator for 12 years, and most cases are exactly what you'd expect. Messy divorces, insurance claims, people who want proof of something they already suspect. When a woman hired me to follow her husband, I figured it would be another routine job. A few photos, a written report, maybe a court appearance if things got ugly. But the first night I tailed him, something felt off. Not in the guilty way most cheaters act. No nervous texting, no detours to cheap hotels, no obvious double life. He moved with a kind of purpose I couldn't figure out. Every turn he made seemed intentional. Every stop felt planned. I didn't know it at the time, but this wasn't a cheating case. Not even close. It all started when I received a voicemail. All I heard at first was shaky breathing. The kind someone makes when they're trying not to cry. Then a whisper.
Please, I think my husband is cheating on me. I don't know who else to call.
There was a pause. 5 full seconds of dead silence before her voice cracked again.
He's been leaving at night. He says it's work, but he doesn't take his laptop anymore, and he comes home different, not tired, excited, like he enjoys whatever he's doing. Please help me. I need to know what he's doing.
She didn't leave a name, but the number was there. I listened to it twice, then called back. She picked up on the first ring.
Hello?
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm a private investigator. You left me a voicemail a few minutes ago.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to call this late.
It's fine. I'm awake. Can you tell me your name?
Marissa. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said all of that on a message. I just didn't know how to start.
Most people don't. Listen, this isn't a conversation you want to have over the phone if you can help it. Are you comfortable meeting in person?
Somewhere public? I don't want my husband to know.
Public is fine. I asked what the closest coffee shop was and told her we could meet there. She said quietly,
I could be there in the morning. I'll tell him I'm going grocery shopping.
We settled on 9:30 a.m. When I hung up, I saved a number in the voicemail, then stared at my phone for a long minute. Most cheating cases start with anger, rage, betrayal. People spit venom when they talk about their spouses. Marissa didn't sound angry. She sounded afraid. I tried to sleep, but my mind kept replaying her voice. The pauses. The way she emphasized the word excited, like it was the worst part. Affairs don't energize people. They drain them. They make them reckless, sloppy, tired. But excitement comes from purpose. That was the first thing that bothered me. By morning, I'd barely closed my eyes. I showered, dressed, and drove to the coffee shop she mentioned. A quiet, independently owned place, tucked between a pharmacy and a thrift store. The kind of spot where people pretend to read books while eavesdropping on everyone else. I got there early and took a booth in the back. Habit. I like walls behind me. At exactly 9:29 a.m., the bell over the door chimed. Marissa walked in. She scanned the room like she expected someone to leap out of the shadows. Her eyes landed on me, and she hurried over, shoulders tight, movements small, like she was trying to take up as little space as possible.
You came,
she said, almost surprised. Of course, it's my job. Please take a seat. She did, placing her purse on her lap, fingers locked around the strap. That grip told me more about her emotional state than anything she'd said so far. A barista came by. Marissa ordered a tea she didn't touch. I waited until we were alone again. "Tell me what's going on." She took a long breath, steadying herself.
My husband, he works in logistics for a warehouse. For years, everything was normal. Long days, occasional overnight, overtime, nothing strange. About 6 months ago, he started getting calls late at night.
What kind of calls?
I don't know. He'd step outside or into the garage. At first, he'd talk. Lately, he just listens. The night trip started soon after. He leaves between 11 and 1.
What does he take with him?
Keys, sometimes a jacket, never his laptop, never anything from work. He comes back a few hours later and he's happy. Not relieved, not nervous, happy. He hums.
She whispered, as if the word itself was obscene.
Like he's proud of himself.
Goosebumps crawled up her arms as she spoke. She rubbed them without realizing. Have you confronted him?
Once I asked where he really goes. He smiled and said, "You don't want to know. Work drama." Then he kissed my forehead and went to bed like nothing happened. I know he isn't being called into work randomly.
There was no tremor in her voice when she repeated those words. Just certainty and fear. "What do you want from me?" I asked. She didn't look confused. She didn't hesitate. She didn't flinch.
I want to know what he's doing. Whatever it is, I have to know.
I slid a contract across the table. She signed without reading. "Don't confront him again," I told her. "Don't change your behavior. Act like life is normal. I'll handle the rest." She nodded, stood, and left without finishing her tea. I waited a minute, then stood to go. That night, when their garage door opened at 11:42 p.m., I was already parked a block away, lights off, camera ready, tracking him before his tires even hit the street. I thought I was about to expose a cheater. Instead, I was about to follow a man into the darkest hobby I've ever seen. He didn't take the highway, and he didn't go anywhere near the industrial district Marissa mentioned. He drifted along back roads like someone following invisible directions, never signaling, never hesitating. Every time I thought I'd lost him, he'd reappear at the next intersection. At 12:17 a.m., he turned into a storage facility, a fenced-in patch of metal buildings on the edge of town. One flickering street lamp buzzed overhead, illuminating rows of roll-up doors. Nothing about the place screamed criminal. It was too normal, too boring. And somehow, that made it worse. He rolled down his window, punched a code into the keypad, and the gate slid open with a cheerful beep that didn't match the dead silence of the night. No bags, no boxes, no laptop. Just keys, and a casual stroll like he'd done this 100 times before. I waited 30 seconds, then slipped inside behind him. I killed my headlights, creeping down the center lane until I spotted him halfway down row C, standing in front of a unit marked 109. His shoulders relaxed as he lifted the door. That's when I heard it. Music. Not loud, not distorted, just wrong. Classical, slow, delicate. Something that belonged in a candlelit ballroom, not a midnight storage unit. It floated into the air like perfume, soft and elegant. The kind of melody that makes you feel nostalgic for something you never experienced. I stepped out of my car, heart hammering, and moved closer on foot. The music grew clearer with every step, and underneath it came another sound. A voice, muffled, strained, wet with fear. "Please, please don't." I froze. Someone else was inside. Not a recording, not an echo. A living, breathing person begging for something I couldn't comprehend. Then another voice answered, calm and low, almost tender, like a parent soothing a child.
"Relax."
After that one word was spoken, I couldn't hear much, until there was a break in the music. After a long moment of silence, I heard him again. This time, no words. He was humming along to the same classical tune, drifting out of that metal box, perfectly in time, like the music wasn't coming from speakers. The metal door began to rattle open. I tucked away behind the closest corner and peered out. He stepped out, locking the unit behind him with a casual turn of the key. No panic, no guilt. He didn't even look around. He just slid the lock closed, pocketed the key, and strolled back to his car, like a man leaving a gym after a good workout. And as he walked away, he started humming again. The same tune, the same rhythm, the same impossible calm. Whatever was behind that door wasn't his secret shame. It was his favorite part of the night. I watched him as he left. When his tail lights finally disappeared, I forced myself out of hiding and crept toward the storage unit. Each step felt heavier than the last. I wasn't sure what I expected to find. A clue, a lockbox, maybe just proof that the music hadn't been in my head. The metal door was shut tight, secured with an old padlock, polished smooth by years of use. I stood there staring at it, my pulse thundering in my ears. I leaned closer, listening. Nothing. No music. No voices. No breathing. Just silence. Not the peaceful kind, and the kind that feels like something has already happened. My hand brushed the lock before I realized what I was doing, fingers trembling as though opening it were a reflex instead of a decision. I tugged, testing it, trying to see if there was any give. The metal clanged louder than I meant, echoing through the rows of storage units like a shout. That was when I came to my senses. I wasn't supposed to be investigating a crime scene. I was supposed to be observing a spouse. Somewhere along the line, the job had shifted and I hadn't noticed until now. I turned to leave. He was standing right behind me. No footsteps, no warning. Just there. I barely had time to inhale before something bright flicked in his hand, and pain tore across my cheek. The cut was shallow, but sharp enough to blind me with tears. I grabbed my face, stumbling back, staring at the blood slick on my fingers. The knife was pristine. My blood was the only imperfection on its surface, glowing under the flickering street lamp. He lifted it up, examining the red smear like a jeweler assessing a diamond.
"If you're gonna do surveillance, you should really bring a weapon or something to protect yourself."
I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. He stepped closer, completely calm.
"My wife thinks I'm cheating. That's cute. She knows something's wrong, but she hasn't figured out what."
He tilted his head, studying my wound with clinical curiosity.
"You have no idea how valuable you are. A private investigator sneaking around. No weapon, no backup, no alibi."
He smiled then. It was confident. He lowered the knife just enough for me to see the dark edge, stained with my blood.
"I don't even have to touch you again. If something happens, this is enough. Your DNA, my lock, your prints. You look like a man trying to get inside somewhere he shouldn't be.
My stomach turned to ice.
You understand what that means, right?
It wasn't a question. I did. He stepped back, folding the knife away like he was settling the bill at a restaurant. His voice dropped to a whisper. I felt more than heard.
You're involved now. Whether you meant to be or not.
He smirked.
Continue to report to my wife. Tell her you're still investigating. When I need your help, I'll get in touch with you. Until then, take care of yourself and keep a low profile.
He turned and walked toward his car, calm, humming the same soft classical melody I'd heard earlier, like all of this was simply part of his evening routine. The gate beeped as he exited. The night went still. My cheek burned. My hands shook. And for the first time since taking this job, I understood something with absolute clarity. He didn't just want me to follow him. He wanted me on the record. I drove home with the radio off, half expecting his car to reappear in my rearview mirror. Every streetlight felt like a spotlight. Every shadow felt occupied. By the time I reached my apartment, my shirt was crusted with dried blood, and the bandage I slapped over my cheek wasn't doing much. I've dealt with violent men before. Abusers, stalkers, addicts having the worst night of their lives. They all have patterns, tiny giveaways, that separate the dangerous from the pathetic. This man had none. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't improvising. He was prepared. I poured myself a drink I didn't need and checked my phone. 3 missed calls, 1 voicemail. Marissa. I let it sit for an hour before I listened to it. I don't know why. Maybe part of me hoped the job would disappear if I ignored it long enough. When I finally pressed play, her voice cracked straight through.
Did you find anything?
No greeting, no hesitation. Her voice was different, tight, like she'd been crying, but didn't have the luxury to finish.
I need to know if I'm crazy.
Crazy? No. If anything, she was the sanest person in this entire situation. I didn't call her back. Not yet. I needed distance, perspective, a plan. But at 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Not a call. A text message. From an unknown number.
Good evening, Alex. How's the cheek?
My throat closed. Another message arrived before I could finish reading the first.
Don't make this me against you. I'm not your enemy. You're lucky. I like your skill set. Consider this, recruitment.
Recruitment. The word made something deep inside me recoil. A third message popped up.
Meet tomorrow, noon. Same coffee shop. Sit where you sat with my wife. Don't be late.
I stared at the phone for a long time, pulse pounding loud enough to hear. There was no question how he got my number. He'd planned for everything. He didn't just anticipate someone following him. He'd prepared for it. I didn't sleep. I just watched the night melt into morning, while my cheek throbbed like a reminder carved into my face. At 11:58 a.m., I walked into the coffee shop. Same bell. Same smell of burnt espresso and old books. The same barista who didn't recognize me, which somehow made this feel even more surreal. He was already there. sitting in the same booth Marissa had sat in, like he'd swapped seats in some twisted game of musical chairs. His posture was immaculate, relaxed, polished, like he belonged here and I didn't.
Alex,
He said, smiling like we were old friends. There was no knife this time. That somehow scared me more. I sat. He slid a folder across the table. Thin. My name written on the tab.
Before you open it,
He said softly.
let's establish two things.
He held up one finger.
One, if I wanted you dead, we wouldn't be speaking right now.
A second finger.
Two, you're not here because you followed me. You're here because I let you.
My pulse spiked. He nodded at the folder.
Go ahead.
I hesitated, then opened it. My address. Photos of my car. A copy of my PI license. A picture of me at my sister's house 2 weeks ago, from an angle that meant he'd been close. Too close. He watched me process it, his expression calm and analytical, like he was studying how I reacted to fear.
You're a spectator, Alex. You spend your life documenting other people's secrets. That's what makes you useful. That's what makes you interesting.
His voice lowered, almost conversational.
But sooner or later, every spectator has to choose a side.
He leaned forward. I didn't move.
Tell me, Alex, did you hear the music last night?
My mouth went dry. I didn't answer. His smile widened, not friendly, not warm, pleased.
You think you heard a victim, but you didn't. You heard a transformation.
A chill slid down my spine. What do you mean? He sat back, humming that same classical melody under his breath. The same one from the storage unit. The same one he'd embedded into my dreams all night. When he spoke again, it was barely audible.
You're going to help me pick the next one.
My heart stopped. The next what? He didn't blink.
The next volunteer.
The words sat between us like a loaded gun. I'm not helping you. My voice sounded weak, even to me. Whatever you're doing in that unit, I'm not part of it. He smiled, not wide, just enough to say he'd been expecting that.
You already are. You stepped up to the door, you touched the lock, you let yourself be seen. That's more intimate than anything I've done to you.
I thought of the cut on my cheek, the way he'd appeared out of nowhere.
You hired yourself the moment you followed me. Now I'm just clarifying your responsibilities.
He reached into his jacket and slid a folded piece of paper across the table. I didn't touch it. What's this?
A man, a possibility, someone I've been considering.
I forced my hand to move and unfolded the paper. A name, an address, a grainy photo printed from what looked like a social media profile. Mid-30s, plain face, the kind of guy you forget the second you look away. Why him? His eyes lit up like a teacher pleased a student had finally asked the right question.
Because he's boring. Boring people are easy to overlook, easy to move, easy to shape.
My stomach turned. I'm not doing this.
You will.
He tapped the paper with one finger.
Follow him. Watch him. Learn his habits. Then tell me if he's a good fit.
A good fit for what? Even though I already knew. He tilted his head.
You heard the music. You heard the voice. You heard the humming. I don't think you need me to draw a picture.
I swallowed hard. What if I tell you he's not? What if I say he's wrong for whatever this is? What if I say no? He studied me for a long moment. Not annoyed, not frustrated, curious.
Then I'll believe you.
He must have seen it in my face, because his smile twitched.
Lying is dangerous, Alex. But honesty is binding. If you tell me he's a bad choice, I will treat him as such.
His eyes didn't leave mine when he said it. He wanted me to hear every word.
You're the investigator. I trust your judgment.
He stood up, smoothing his jacket like this had all been a regular business meeting.
Follow him for 3 days. Then call me. Not text. Call. I prefer to hear your voice when you decide whether someone gets to keep theirs.
He turned to leave. Why me? I asked. He stopped with his hand on the back of the chair.
Because you already watch people for a living,
He said without looking at me.
All I did was ask you to admit you know who deserves what.
Then he walked out, leaving the prospect's name and face staring up at me from the table. His name was Eric Lawson. That was the man on the paper. The man in the grainy picture. Retail job. Small house on the edge of town. No wife. No kids. Nothing that screamed monster. Nothing that screamed victim. Just a man. The first night I sat in my car, across from his building, camera in my lap, notebook open on the passenger seat. Old habits took over before my conscience could argue. I wrote down comings and goings, who he talked to, how long he stayed out, what time the lights went off. He ordered delivery, watched something on TV, fell asleep on the couch. No late night visitors, no drug deals, no violence. Normal. Painfully normal. The second day I followed him to work. He managed a mid-sized home improvement store. Shifts, schedules, returns, customers with broken things and half-finished projects. He smiled at co-workers, checked on a cashier who looked like she'd been crying, helped an older man load lumber into his truck. He wasn't perfect. Nobody is. I caught him snapping at a teenager who kept checking his phone. I saw him pocket a small item. Nothing big, a box cutter or a tape measure. The kind of small theft that happens a million times a day. It didn't feel like the kind of sin that deserved a metal door and humming behind it. By the third day, I knew one thing for sure. If I said yes, if I told that man in the coffee shop that Eric fit, I was picking him up and handing him over. My decision, my responsibility, my guilt. I couldn't do it. So I built myself a way out. I stayed up late drafting the report. Not the one I'd give a normal client, a cheating spouse case, an insurance dispute. Those reports stick to facts, dates, times, places, photos, things that hold up in court. This one was theatre. I listed connections he didn't have. Subject appears to maintain regular contact with his sister, a nurse, I typed. Brother-in-law is a patrol officer with the police department. Subject's mother lives 20 minutes away and visits weekly. None of that was true. He had no siblings. His parents lived 3 states away and had left a single comment on a birthday post 2 years ago. I added more. House is equipped with multiple security cameras, I wrote. Ring doorbells on neighboring houses. Subject's employer is part of a larger corporate chain with strict HR protocols and internal review policies. Subject is well liked by co-workers and known by name by regular customers. I upscaled everything that could make him visible, connected, risky. The kind of man people noticed. The kind of man people would miss. At the bottom, I wrote the sentence I hoped would end this. Assessment. Subject is not a viable prospect. High visibility. Multiple personal and professional connections. Increased risk of investigation if he disappears. Recommend abandoning subject and seeking alternative candidate. I read it twice. If I did nothing, Eric was exposed. If I told the truth, he was exposed. This felt like the only option left that wasn't a direct death sentence. I hit send. My email client told me it was delivered. I shut the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. You lied, a small voice in the back of my mind whispered. I told it to shut up. I went to bed and didn't sleep. He called me the next afternoon. No unknown number this time. Just the same calm voice that had hummed in the storage unit and turned my blood to ice.
Good afternoon, Alex.
I swallowed. Did you read it? I asked.
I did. It was thorough.
There was something in his tone I couldn't place. Not approval, not anger. Something worse.
Meet me. Same place.
The coffee shop. My grip tightened on the phone. I already told you.
You lied. I think that deserves a face-to-face, don't you?
The line clicked dead. For a moment, I considered not going, turning my phone off, driving somewhere far away and never looking back. But wherever I went, my license, my plates, my address, the folder he'd shown me, it would still exist. The cut on my cheek would still sting. The humming would still burrow through my brain. And Eric Lawson would still be out there, sitting in his house, having no idea that a stranger had written a story about him that might decide whether he woke up tomorrow. I went. The coffee shop looked exactly the same. He wasn't inside. For a half second, hope sparked. Maybe he'd been bluffing. Maybe he hadn't read the report. Maybe. My phone buzzed. Unknown.
Outside.
I turned. He stood beside a dark sedan in the parking lot, one hand resting on the roof, the other in his coat pocket. He might as well have been waiting for a valet ticket. I walked over.
Afternoon. You look tired.
You read the report? The corner of his mouth twitched.
I did.
He nodded toward the car.
Walk with me.
Every instinct I had screamed to turn around, to leave, to make a scene, shout for help, force witnesses into this. But my feet moved anyway. He led me to the back of the car and stopped, fingers brushing the trunk.
Before we talk about your creative writing, I want to show you something.
He pressed the button. The trunk clicked and eased open an inch. He lifted it the rest of the way. Eric Lawson was inside. Duct tape over his mouth. Zip ties around his wrists and ankles. Eyes red and swollen. He was breathing fast. Sweat slicked his hair to his forehead. He saw me. And for a second, hope flared in his eyes. It died when he saw the other man standing beside me. A muffled sound escaped him. My knees went weak. "What did you do?" I whispered. The man beside me didn't look at Eric. He looked at me.
You said he had family close by. You said his brother-in-law was law enforcement, that he was known, visible. Remember?
I couldn't make my mouth move.
He has no siblings. His parents are old and far away and tired. He lives alone. No roommates. No one texts him when he's late. No one notices when he closes early and doesn't reopen. You sent me fiction, and I don't like fiction.
My hand shook against my side. You knew, I managed. You knew all that before you gave him to me.
Of course I did. I don't outsource the important parts.
Then why?
Because I wanted to see what you do. Whether you'd tell the truth and let me decide, or whether you'd lie and try to keep your conscience clean.
He finally glanced down at Eric, who had started to sob behind the tape, shoulders shaking.
Unfortunately, your lie didn't protect him.
My throat closed. You don't have to do this, I said hoarsely. Just let him go. He doesn't know anything. He hasn't seen anything. He's just...
Unusable.
The man interrupted softly, and the word hit harder than a slap. What?
Prospects have to be clean, untouched. You looked at him, you judged him, you changed him. He was going to be something. Now he's just a ruined ingredient.
He closed the trunk gently. What are you going to do to him? I asked. He tilted his head slightly.
You lied, Alex. I'm already correcting for that. I don't think you want the details.
You said if I told you he was a bad choice, you'd treat him as such, I said. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else.
I am. He's useless now. Don't be sentimental. You tried to play a game, you lost. That's all this is.
That's a person, I snapped, louder than I meant to. That's a man who's never done anything to you. His eyes flicked to my bandaged cheek, then back.
He has now. He let you near him.
He watched me wrestle with it, watched the guilt sink its teeth into me and shake. Then he smiled. Not pleased, not cruel, satisfied.
Now, you understand what a lie costs.
I stared at the closed trunk. You could have done this without me, I whispered.
I could have, but then you wouldn't feel it.
What do you want from me? I asked. I hated how small I sounded.
For you to stop pretending you're neutral. You spend your life deciding who is right and who is wrong and who deserves to have their secrets exposed. All I'm asking you to do is admit it.
He reached into his coat again and pulled out another piece of paper. This one was blank, except for a single line printed at the top. Candidate. He handed me a pen.
Find someone who deserves it. You owe me one.
I'm not.
You lied. Because you wanted to save yourself from choosing. That cowardice cost him.
He nodded at the trunk.
If you lie again, someone else pays. If you pick thoughtlessly, someone pays. The only way you walk away from this with even a sliver of your conscience intact is if you do what you already do every day.
He leaned in close.
Investigate. Judge. Choose.
He stepped back.
I don't need you to like it. I just need you to be good at it.
He walked around to the driver's side door. Please, I said. I wasn't even sure who I was begging for anymore. He paused.
You asked me what I'd do to him.
He said, not looking back.
Here's your answer.
He opened the door.
I'll do whatever you think I did.
He got in, started the engine, and drove away, trunk still closed, leaving me standing in the parking lot with a blank form in my hand and a pit in my stomach. I don't remember getting home. I remember the paper on my kitchen table, the word candidate glaring up at me. I remember the pen beside it, right where I dropped it. I remember washing my hands 3 times, even though there was nothing on them. I didn't turn any lights on. Outside my window, the city went through its normal routine. People argued on sidewalks, a siren in the distance. A couple laughed too loudly as they passed by, drunk, alive and unaware of how easily those two things could separate. I tried not to think about Eric in the trunk, whether he was still there. You did that, the voice in my head said. You wrote him into that trunk with your lies. I pressed my palms into my eyes until colors bloomed behind them. If I walked away, he would still keep hunting. Prospects, volunteers, whatever he wanted to call them. I wouldn't stop it. But now I knew something I hadn't known before. I could make it worse. I could make it happen faster. Or I could try to aim it. The thought made me want to throw up. Find someone who deserves it. Who deserves it? The drunk who got behind the wheel and drove home? The guy who screams at his girlfriend on the phone and grabs her arm too hard outside a bar? The landlord who ignores the mold in his tenant's walls? The cop who cuts corners? I stood at the window and watched people pass under the streetlight, each of them a file I could open if I wanted to. For 12 years, I've watched people from behind glass, behind lenses, behind legal language. I've always been able to tell myself I was neutral and in control. My phone buzzed. Unknown.
I'm patient, Alex, but not that patient. The longer you wait, the more people I look at on my own.
The implication was clear. Do nothing, and who knows how many end up like Eric. Act, and at least I could tell myself I'd picked someone who deserved something. I picked up the pen. Outside, on the corner, a man in a suit was yelling into his phone, one hand slicing the air. I'd seen him before, always cutting people off in traffic, always shoving past slower pedestrians. Last week, I'd watched him grab a waitress's wrist when she got his order wrong. I watched him now, his face twisting, his voice rising. Someone on the other end of the line, absorbing his words because they had no choice. I shouldn't have thought it. I did anyway. What about him? My grip tightened on the pen until it hurt. The line on the page waited. Candidate. I told myself I was just thinking, just watching, just doing what I always do. But my hand still moved, slowly, as if someone else were guiding it. I wrote a name, and the moment the ink dried, I understood the worst part of all of this. He hadn't forced me to. He'd just given me a reason. I stared at the word until it blurred. The room felt smaller, like the walls were inching closer, one breath at a time. Eventually, I set the pen down and stepped back. I should have torn it up. I should have burned it. Instead, I left it sitting there on the table like evidence at a crime scene. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't unknown. Marissa. For a few seconds, I just watched the screen light up. My thumb hovered over the answer button and didn't move. The call went to voicemail. A notification popped up. One new message. I told myself not to listen. Not tonight. Not with that paper still drying on the table. I pressed play anyway. Her voice came through in a strained whisper, like she was calling from inside a church or a hospital.
Alex, it's me. I know you said you'd keep looking into him.
She took a shaky breath. I could hear something faint in the background. A TV, maybe.
He's been different again. Worse. He left last night and came back at 3 a.m. No laptop, no work bag. He just walked in and...
She broke off.
He kissed my forehead and said, "Thank you for starting this." I don't know what that means.
My hand tightened around the phone.
I asked him what he was talking about. He just smiled and said, "You made the call. That's all it ever takes."
There was a pause. I heard a soft, distant sound behind her. A melody, maybe. Barely there. My stomach flipped.
And Alex, he was humming again. That same song, the one I told you about at the coffee shop.
Another pause. Longer this time.
He said he's excited. He hasn't used that word in days, not like that. I don't know what you've found or if you've found anything.
Her breathing hitched. Silence. When she spoke again, the fear in her voice was no longer just about her husband.
Please call me back. I feel like something already started and I missed it.
The message ended with a soft click. For a long time, I just stood there, in the dark, phone in one hand, the paper on the table in front of me. I realized my jaw was clenched, my shoulders were tight, my throat hurt, and under all of that, under the ringing in my ears and the pounding in my chest, there was something else. A sound. Quiet, steady, familiar. It was coming from me. I was humming. What was wrong with me? The paper sat on my kitchen table all night. I must have looked at it 100 times. The name glared up at me like it was waiting for permission. Candidate. Ryan Hale. I hadn't thought about Ryan in years. A domestic case. A man who knew exactly how far he could go without getting arrested. A man who left bruises no one photographed. A man who smiled when he realized the world would never hold him accountable. I used to tell myself he was just another job I couldn't fix. I didn't realize he had been living in my head, waiting for a night like this. My phone buzzed. Marissa. I answered before I could talk myself out of it.
Alex, have you found anything? Please tell me you found something.
Her voice cracked on the last word. She wasn't curious. She was desperate. I need your husband's phone number. If he's lying about where he goes at night, I can confirm it. I can check incoming and outgoing calls. If he's not cheating, then he's covering something else, and I need his number to prove it. It sounded clinical, professional. I told myself it was the right thing to say. She gave it to me like she had been waiting for someone to ask. A sound cut her off. A door. Footsteps.
Who are you talking to?
Her breath hitched. The line went dead. I stared at her husband's number until my hand moved on its own. I sent him Ryan Hale's file. Every note, every detail, every reason I once believed Ryan deserved something the law never gave him. The moment I hit send, I felt something I couldn't name. Not regret, not fear. Something like momentum, like once the name was out there, it was no longer mine. My phone buzzed again. Unknown.
Thank you.
I don't know how long I stood there staring at that message. It wasn't gratitude. It was acknowledgement. A little after 8, another message came. Marissa.
Can you come to the house? I don't know what to do. Something is wrong, please.
I drove without thinking. Every light was green. Every turn felt familiar. The house was dark when I got there. I rang the bell. No answer. My phone lit up. Unknown.
Her knight in shining armor. Thank goodness you came.
I turned in a slow, controlled movement. Like sudden motion might break something already cracking inside me. Unknown.
Storage facility, row C, unit 109. You want the truth? Here it is.
The lot was exactly as I remembered it. Rows of identical doors. The buzz of a dying street lamp. The kind of silence that made it feel like the world stopped breathing. The unit was open a few inches. Music seeped through the gap. Classical. Slow. Perfect. A song I didn't know I knew until I heard it again. I lifted the door. Marissa was inside. She sat in a metal chair, wrists tied, tape across her mouth, eyes wide and glassy. She looked at me like I was the only person left who might still choose something different. Her whole body shook. She tried to speak, but only a muffled plea came out. I stepped toward her. A voice floated out of the dark behind me.
She brought you here.
He emerged from the shadows, like he had been part of them. Calm, relaxed, completely aware of what he was in this moment, and what I was not.
People never understand what they begin. They ask for help. They want answers. They think they are the victims. They do not see the choices they make.
I stared at Marissa. She shook her head frantically, eyes begging me to rewrite whatever story she had accidentally authored. What do you do to them? What is this? He stepped closer to the chair, but he didn't touch her.
I remove the parts they refuse to admit exist. The lies, the excuses, the stories they tell to avoid what they have done. People believe suffering is the punishment. Suffering is just awareness. Judgment is the punishment.
The music pulsed. It wasn't loud, it was just everywhere. He pointed at Marissa.
She ended a life. She fell asleep. She drifted into another lane. She was pregnant with our child. She killed our child. The police told her it was an accident. The world told her she was strong. Everyone cried for her. No one cried for the life that was taken.
He looked at me the way a teacher looks at a student who finally asks the right question.
There was no judgment.
The floor tilted under me. My hands shook. The music crawled into my throat.
You gave me Ryan Hale. You remembered him. You judged him. You decided he deserved something.
I didn't mean to.
You didn't stop yourself. Neutrality is a myth, Alex. So is innocence.
I stepped backward. My body tried to turn. My legs did not respond. The music held me still. Marissa made a sound behind the tape. Small, broken, hopeful. He peeled it off slowly. She gasped like she had been drowning.
I'm sorry.
Her voice was shredded.
I'm sorry. It wasn't my fault. I didn't mean to. Please, I didn't mean to.
He met my eyes.
That is the song of this world. And you listen to it every day.
He reached behind her chair. I tried to look away. My head moved. My eyes did not. I wasn't frozen. I was watching. I understood that difference too late. The music swelled. Not loud. Just undeniable. My teeth buzzed. My throat vibrated. My own mouth. Humming. Not because I agreed. Because it was easier than silence. I don't remember much after that. I only remember walking down my street and looking at every person I passed. Not with curiosity, with calculation. The music wasn't playing anymore. It didn't need to. It changed something in me. I used to follow people to find the truth. Now, I follow them to see if they deserve it. If you are based in the UK and would like to enjoy freshly batch roasted coffee delivered to your door, visit vitalcoffee.co.uk and use the coupon code mrfreakystory to get 10% off from all products. I will leave a link in the description below.